Hey my good friends, Sam Haymart with Test Driven TV. Today we're here at my favorite country club with the all-new redesigned 2022 Mercedes-Benz S580 sedan. A lot of features, a lot to talk about, so I'm going to show it to you inside and out. We're going to take it for a drive, and then I'm going to tell you what I really think. All right, my friends, because we are at a country club, we have country club noises all in our background, so I apologize for that. They are, of course, manicuring the greens, and there's no way to get around that today. It's that time of year. So this is what we have. This is the 2022 Mercedes-Benz S580. This has a number of options and packages on it, and the AMG and night appearance packages, you can see that right out here with the black gloss trims, the 21-inch wheels, which are optional here. Those things really fill the wheel wells, and quite a few other options we'll talk about, but the full price here is $131,000 and a little bit of change. Looking at this, it's got the long wheelbase, details Mercedes-Benz. Looking at the front, a big grille in the traditional shape with a little bit of a evolution, I'd say. The Mercedes-Benz emblem is standing up on the front of the hood, which I happen to like in some of these cars. It brings a sense of lineage to these. But there's also a Mercedes-Benz badge laying just ahead of it. Kind of an interesting detail. This does have LED headlights that are fully adaptive and they track your every move. But when you back away and look at this car from a little bit more of a big picture angle, you can see that it's a pretty simplified shape. There are not a lot of creases, not a lot of lines. Everything is just quite conservative, yet maintaining the Mercedes-Benz styling DNA. Up at the top, you can see this has the panoramic moonroof, which has an opening section at the front. And down on the doors, this has the power flush door handles, which when you unlock the car or when you approach the car, these will pop out and give you the chance to open the door right up. And they are backlit at night, but when you walk away, when you lock the car, they sink back in there and become flush just as they are when you're driving down the road. One of the details that helps contribute to the fact that this has a 0.22 coefficient of drag, one of the most aerodynamic sedans you can get. From this angle, you can really get a sense of this car's athletic stance as well as its length, and these big wheels and this lower cladding you can see with the AMG package and the night package really give this sort of an almost iconic dressy look. At the rear, this has an optional spoiler on the deck lid, and I really like the way the newest generation's taillights are really tied into a nice streamlined look, and with the chrome trim, I think it's just really sharp. And looking down into that lower fascia, one of the things I really like on this is, unlike some other Mercedes-Benzes that I've tested recently, this has genuine blow-through exhaust finishers, not the fake plastic doilies like we see on some. If you look through there, air is actually blowing through there. So I like that they've kept it real. Overall, when it comes to my sense of the style here, I think that it's iconic. I think that the latest generation definitely holds to the sense of occasion that comes with the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. The interior of the S580 has been completely redesigned since the last generation, and as you look around, you won't be surprised to find lots of leather, lots of soft stitch trims, and lots of genuine wood. Not to mention all of the technical high-quality switchgear and digital glitz. I think the big thing that I really like about this new interior is that Mercedes-Benz has gotten rid of this single slab panel that used to have the instrument cluster and the infotainment screen all together. Kind of looked like it was an afterthought to me always. And they split that apart, and now a large center screen which is built into the center console and a separate screen over here. I just think it has a much more bespoke look. It looks better. It's just more a design decision rather than we're putting this thing in all of our cars. So I appreciate that. And just looking at it, I think it's well done the way this screen lays up against the nice slab of wood behind it. And this vehicle has the ambient lighting package, and you can see that throughout the photography right now set on a blue and purple lighting scheme. As I sit here, I'm sitting in leather seats. These are both heated and ventilated, completely adjustable on the door switches. Mercedes-Benz trademark. I will point out that normally this would have Napa leather in this car, but due to supply constraints going on right now in the global industry, they've taken that out. It's just standard leather, and there's actually about a $2,200 deduct on the window sticker for that. Nonetheless, they're comfortable, they're beautiful to look at. The one thing I'm not really sure about is this little pillow that hangs here on the headrests. It's Velcro and it slides around. It feels like that thing they give you on the airplane, that cheap little throwaway thing. I hate to say that, but just a little detail, and you can take it off if you don't want to use it. The switchgear in here is, of course, a very high quality, a nice all-new steering wheel for this year, and switches on it touch sensitive for both the instrument cluster and the center stack controls. And looking at the instrument cluster, 12.3-inch, completely customizable. It's got multiple themes, so you can change the look and you can change what you're looking at. It's beautiful to look at no matter which theme you choose. The gear selector is on the right, and the windshield controls and turn signal on the left. You have paddle shifters here for the 9-speed automatic transmission, and all the other controls are right within your reach. The big center stack screen right there works exceptionally well. Even though it's pointed straight up at the light, I don't find that the glare is too bad. The center console has storage down here. There are cup holders off to the right and a place to lay your phone. There's also a wireless charger in here. And I kind of like this finish. It's a $300 option for this dotted printed finish on this particular piece of plastic. Kind of an odd thing to option, but it does look pretty. And in here, a nice level of storage. I'd say about the size of 2 rectangular tissue boxes. A nice level of storage with clamshell lid, and it's comfortable. All this stuff's heated too with the package that we have here. Steering wheel's heated, armrests are heated. It's a great place to be in the winter. As you can see, I've got plenty of room back here in the rear seat. Those seats way over there are set for my height, about 5'8" with my tennis shoes on, and I've got over a foot of legroom before I get close to the back of this seat, and I can really spread out and get comfortable. And better yet, I have power seat adjustments back here that enable me to get this seat in a position that's even more comfortable. They're heated, they're ventilated, and I've also got power sunshades back here, both on the side doors and the rear window. So if I were being chauffeured, this would be quite a nice experience. And it can even get better if you option the chauffeur package, which offers quite a few more comfort and convenience features back for your customers. There are a number of amenities back here, as you'd expect. I've got vents at the back of the center console, and down at the bottom of that there are USB and AC power ports. A nice center console here that has storage in it, and inside that there's more USB ports to be had, and a cup holder here at the front. And there's also a pass-through into the trunk right there. Looking at the trunk, this is a nice big space. It's actually larger for this year, and there's actually an option here called the comfort box. Little drawer that pops out, and you can push the bottom down and store comfortable things in there. I guess it's for comfortable things, called the comfort box. A very nice little addition, and you can adjust the bottom and the height of that to different levels. Under the floor, you will not find a spare tire here. This has a fix-a-flat kit, as it were. But if you can afford this car, chances are you can afford to wait a few minutes for the tow service to come and help you out with that flat tire problem. That said, just a very comforting place to be. Peaceful too. When it comes to rating this interior, I'm very happy. I like everything that's here. I love this new design format, as I said at the outset, and Mercedes-Benz just knows how to do an interior. And there's so many things that we haven't talked about. I'm really sort of looking at the I've just sat in this car and spent a few days in it, here's what I think sort of point of view. And to that, this gets 5 out of 5 stars. The infotainment system here is new for this year, at least in terms of its screen format. A 12.8-inch touchscreen, now a rectangular, almost portrait sort of design, and it has every feature known to man just about. This has the Burmester 3D sound system. There is an optional sound system above this, the 4D, with up to 30 speakers, but even here the sound system sounds absolutely great. Looking at this particular system, it has the functionality with voice control, and I'm not going to say it because she'll pipe up and start asking me what I want, but you just say hey and you name the car and off she goes wanting to help you. The graphics are phenomenal, the menu layout very intuitive, and using this system doesn't take a lot of sitting down and coaching yourself for 2 days. Anybody can sit in this car and immediately find their way around with all of the menus and the tuning, and I absolutely love the swipe controls here with tuning of the stations. Particularly on SXM, everything's laid out with an icon. I'm a serious XM guy. I absolutely love this. It makes it easy, and when you hook your phone up to this with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto and you have a streaming service, or maybe you have a playlist, all of your playlists, they all float up here as well. So I absolutely love this system. The backup camera, 360-degree view camera in this works exceptionally well both day and night. This system gets 5 out of 5 stars. This is as good as it gets. All right, my friends, time to take a drive, and it might seem uncivilized in this sense of occasion with this car, but I'm going to do it because the question I always like to ask is, how does it go? So I'm going to come to a complete stop here. I got a free and open runway, nobody around, and go. Woo! Nice sound. And 60. Woo! All right. Well, that was very civilized, actually. Very quiet, very non-dramatic, just a nice burst of power. So what this has under the hood is a 4-liter twin turbocharged V8. It has 496 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque. It has a 9-speed automatic transmission, and this has 4MATIC all-wheel drive. So there's a lot of power driving this, well, what is a pretty heavy car, but it does a very civilized yet powerful job of it. I would imagine kind of like the people who buy this car would see themselves, civilized yet powerful. It has a lot of different features to save fuel. One of them is auto start stop. So engine comes to a stop. When I'm at a stop, I let off the gas pedal, it starts back up, off I go. Not my favorite feature. In fact, you know, honestly, in a car like this, I would think that, you know, if you can afford this car, you should be able to buy yourself out of the drudgery that commoners have to put up with, like these auto start-stop systems. I know some of you are going to go, what? What did he just say? Yeah, if you can afford this car, you should be able to just buy yourself out of that. Pay the gas guzzler tax. I don't want auto start-stop in my car. I don't want to be bothered with that stuff. But that said, you can turn it off. There's a switch right next to the engine start button. So Mercedes-Benz knows their customer. They put the switch right there where you can just tap, tap, and off you go. So I appreciate that, Mercedes. I wish all car companies that put this in their car would do that for me. This is rated at 16 city, 25 highway, and it has a combined rating of 19 miles to the gallon. To my surprise, I actually got about 23 miles of the gallon with it this week in a mix of city and highway. And a lot of that goes to the fact that this has the mild hybrid EQ boost system, which is a system that has an integrated starter generator that starts the engine and can give you some extra power upon takeoff and when you want short bursts of it, which is when the gasoline engine is at its worst when it comes to efficiency. So the whole thing works quite well in terms of efficiency and refinement. I do have a few complaints, and one of those is that sometimes off the line it tends to be a little bit slow to react, and that is simply tuning of the throttle. But outside of that, this is a powertrain that is very befitting of this car. This powertrain gets 5 out of 5 stars. Now when it comes to ride, drive, and handling, as you'd expect, this is a big Mercedes-Benz. It rides and drives like one, which is to say that it has that nice, soft, sort of cushy Mercedes-Benz ride. And a lot of that is afforded by the fact that this has the Airmatic air suspension. And that can be adjusted. So when you change the drive modes, of which there are several to choose from, you can get that to be a little bit sharper, a little bit less floaty. But in the comfort setting, this is a magic carpet that gives you the traditional ride you'd expect in a Mercedes-Benz sedan. And it can react if you start throwing some moves at it, like turning fast, hitting the accelerator, hitting the brakes. That is going to stiffen that up and help you react. And it reacts going into corners, And so it really just works to keep this car stable, yet keeping you comfortable. Around my neighborhood and around town, it's very maneuverable, and that goes in part to the fact that this does have the optional rear wheel steering. It can turn opposite the wheels when you're maneuvering in tight spaces like parking. I noticed pulling into my garage that this was just amazing how tight the turning circle is. In fact, according to the information that Mercedes-Benz gave me, this has a 7-foot tighter turning circle when you opt for the 4-wheel steering. And when you have higher speeds over 37 miles an hour, those wheels actually turn parallel. You can actually feel that here, by the way. The wheels actually turn parallel at speed to help you change lanes a little bit more stable. So it's a very nice feature. The last thing I say relative to handling and ride is that it's very quiet. You notice that the first time you set foot in this car and you're sitting in a traffic light, and you really can't hear very much that's going on outside of you. But its speed, our 70-mile-an-hour highway test had a 58.4 decibel sound reading, which is very quiet. Now, there are some areas of the ride, drive, and handling experience that I did find a little bit less appealing. Because this does have these large 21-inch wheels, going over bumps like manhole covers, certain speed bumps, and things like that can be a little bit on the harsher side. So if you really are looking for that super magic carpet ride, you want to get one of the smaller tire wheel combinations that's got a little bit of a higher sidewall on that tire, because you do know you've hit something when you go over road irregularities with these big tires and wheels. The other thing I would say is that because this is tuned to have a soft ride, I did notice that over certain types of transitions going in and out of curves where there's undulations and things like that, that it doesn't always adjust at the same rate that the car is moving around. It just doesn't feel entirely sorted there. A minor thing, but it could use a little bit more polish. This chassis gets 4 out of 5 stars. All right, my friends, now it's time to talk about value, which is always kind of a funny conversation to have about a car like this. Why? Because nobody really needs a $130,000 luxury car, do we? We want one. And the thing about this car is that this has a very high loyalty rate. People that own an S-Class, chances are you've owned one before. I'm probably talking to owners right now, someone who owns one or who has owned one and wants to know what the latest, greatest is all about. And so in that way, this is a car that has evolved. I remember riding in these from the late 70s and 80s. People I know had them, white. They had a lot of white ones back then in the 80s, and those people have had repeated purchases, and they often get the same color. So this is a car that is something that you get lineage with, and it deserves it. It's well made. It offers virtually everything that you can get if you're wanting everything that you can get. And the quality and sense of occasion is still here, even with this latest generation, I think. And so when I look at value, I look at things like quality, features for the money, pricing, all of that, safety features. Obviously, this has literally everything there is to get. You can spend more. We're actually around the mid-range. If you go up into the AMG or the Maybach, depending on how you say it, you can get up around $200,000, even more if you try. So 130. I think that's really kind of in the middle space here. I will say that the options pricing is really where the Germans get you. I mean, $1,750 for white paint. Really? I mean, really? Come on, come on. But it's stuff like that. And if you look at all the options this car has, it just brings a smile to your face, because you know they're just packing it. There are Nissans that have standard things that they're charging a good amount of money for. But who cares, right? If you're buying this car, you're probably not quibbling about those things. So that said, I put value here at 4 out of 5 stars. When you put that in with everything we've already talked about, we're at 4.5 stars for the review. Phenomenal. This is a car that really doesn't have that many competitors. When you look at BMW, when you look at some of the other brands out there, they all offer something just a little bit different with a different perspective. So it really isn't apples to apples, even in the same price range. So there you go. Please see our latest video right there. Better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel right down there. Either way, stay tuned.